wood screw. This is a drywall screw. This is softer metal. It won't break, it won't shear, it'll bend, so it's stronger that way, but it's softer so it won't drive right in easily. We don't use these that often, okay? So if I ever would send you, like, get me some drywall screws, get me some 3-inch drywall screws. Generally speaking, if it's this color, you've got the wrong thing, you know? Almost always it's going to be that, to keep it simple, that kind of color, the black kind of iron color, right? You can't drive these quickly and take them out easily like you can these. So this is a wood screw, this is a drywall screw. We don't use wood screws that much. This is a bolt. It has no point on it. It's got threads. You can screw a nut on the end of it. This is called a carriage bolt. There's lots of different kinds of bolts. But you can generally know if it doesn't have a point, it's not a screw, it's a bolt. I just go through this because I had a student that brought me back the wrong stuff once. And I want to make sure I make it clear. This is a nail. There's no threads on that. It's just got a point. You can smack it with a hammer, right? We don't use nails that often, actually, because nails are not removable, generally speaking. And once you pull a nail, it's pretty much worthless. You can't really reuse it. So we use screws way more often than we use nails, maybe kind of occasionally. And these are very small nails called brads. Sometimes, like, you might use those. But really, this is the staple of what we use. Okay, cool. So, there's a variety of tools here. We're going to start with the hand tools. We'll start with the measuring tools first, and then we'll kind of work our way around to several different things. Anybody experienced with tools at all, or confident, curious about tools?
I know the hammer.
Excellent. We're off to a good start. Anybody else familiar with them, or yeah? What ones are you familiar with?
Pretty much all of them.
Dude, good. Great. Yeah, I mean, some of them are, you know, some of these you might be familiar with, some of them not. None of these are terribly complicated. There are a few power tools over there that we'll probably get to, which I may let you use if we need to. There's a table saw in the back. I probably wouldn't have any of you use the table saw. That's one of those, you could get injured if you don't know what you're doing, so I don't want you to get injured. So, speaking of safety, as long as we're on the subject, one thing to remember, well, several things to remember. When you're working with any kind of tool, one, be sure that you know where your hand that is holding the thing you're working on is, right? And we kind of talked about this when you were making your models, but if I'm, even with a mat knife, right? If I'm cutting something, right, I need to know where this hand that's holding the material is. If I'm not paying attention to, because I'm a right-handed person, if I'm not paying attention to where my left hand is, that's almost always what's going to get hurt, because I'm so focused on the tool hands, right? I don't want to mess up what I'm doing, and then here I go slice and I cut myself, right? Mm-hmm. Know where your other hand is. That's one of the biggest things that will help you. Know where your other hand is. Another thing is when you're working on something, make sure that it's secure, right? So if I'm cutting something, I got things like this. These are all different types of clamps. This is called a quick clamp. It's got a little grip, and I can close it like that. Really handy and fast. This is a spring clamp. This is, I can also squeeze it open like an alligator jaw and hold something down to my work table. This is called a C-clamp, just like on the lights, only it's obviously a different shape, but it's the same purpose. I can hold something down. So, for example, if I'm working on something over here, if I'm working on this piece of 1x, if it's not secure, it's going to move, and that makes it less safe for me, because if I'm cutting it or if I'm drilling a hole through it or whatever I might be doing, if it suddenly shifts on me, then that could mean that the tool moves and I get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. So what I can do is, if I've got some clamps like this one, clamp it down, and that's secure now. It's not going to move on me. If I don't have that, but I have someone else around, I could have, say, come on over, could you put some weight and hold this for me? That can work as well. If this table isn't a table I'm worried about, I can just screw right down to the table and then the thing is secure. But it's always good to make sure whatever you work on is secure. If it's not, then you're taking a little bit of risk there that you don't need to take.